I bought a CT55 trail and I fixed it up and decided it wasn't for me. Didn't have enough power and I couldn't really use it the way I wanted to use it. So I decided to try the Trail 90. And my first adventure was buying out a junkyard. And you'd have to interview my wife to know what that meant. But I think I bought about 30 motorcycles for a flat fee per motorcycle. And I slowly but surely built a couple. And Tech Day happened several years after that. That was I'm not a long-term motorcycle rider. I've only been riding the 15 years that we've been having Tech Days. I am down to 3, so if you can imagine the heyday, 30 plus motorcycles. I have my Mutant, the famous Mutant, which is in the background. I have one suitcase cycle and an original 69 suitcase cycle that was done by another company. So I only have 3 remaining in my collection, mostly because of space and where I live. I happen to have a sidecar, one of the original sidecars for my motorcycle. So when you ride a CT90 with a sidecar, you're a conversation piece. It's a pretty interesting thing. So that's about as wild as it gets with motorcycles. The other interesting story is Jack with Dr. ATV has continuously sponsored Tech Day. So for, I don't even know, 14 years, 13 years, 15 years, Jack has come through as our sponsor, and we love him. He has the best collection of parts and reproduction parts to keep our bikes going. We've tested parts for him. He's sent me carburetors to try out. It's been a great partnership with Dr. ATV, and all I have to do is call Jack and say it's Tech Day, and he sends me what he calls a box of goodies. And they appear, we never know what we're getting. It's always good, and we love the partnership with our sponsor.
The CT was probably the first bike I ever rode. I think I was about 13 and some friends had one and I rode it. And then about 15 years ago, my son had a jet ski that we took in to have repaired at a little shop that did jet skis and motorcycles. And we were out front looking at them. I started talking to my son about the bike, told him it was the first one I rode. And I asked the guy about it, and he said it was for sale, but it had been sitting there in their front shop for a long time. And since they hadn't sold it, he was going to part it out on eBay. And I said, no, you're not. And I asked him what he wanted, ended up buying it, took it home that day. And then my sons and I had a trip planned to go up to Mammoth fishing. So we decided we'd take the bike, and then I decided I needed a couple more. So I bought 2 more. I found 2 more in either the Penny Saver or Craigslist or something. And then I bought a 4th one because their cousin was going to meet us up there. So we ended up taking 4 bikes up to Mammoth. And that's how it started. That was the beginning. One of the bikes that I bought had a bent shift shaft. It had fallen down at one time and it was bent over on the side where the shifter was. So I took that bike in and asked them to replace that, and they charged me, I think it was like $586 to replace that and a couple other things they did. But I found out later that it's like a 2-hour job to do that. So I decided I'm never going to pay to have these bikes worked on again. So I started working on them. started doing little things, started doing tune-ups, and got brave and pulled the side cover off once and got into the clutch. The first time was scary. Everything fell down into the cover, and I'm like, oh, I have no idea where that goes. So I ended up, I think Ross Oswald helped me the first time I split a case. Came over and we split a case together. And then I started, people started bringing me their bikes to work on. And I started rebuilding the motors, and I started getting into the electrical of the bikes. Started getting into everything, and then I decided I might as well, help people out, because there were just so many people that were looking for people to work on them. So I ran an ad in Craigslist for a while and just got swamped with work, because nobody works on these little bikes anymore. No shops, or very few shops. And so I started working on them, and it was like all weekend long. Every day after work, I was out in the garage working on them. And I've kind of slowed down a little bit. I don't run ads on Craigslist anymore. I've slowed that part of it down. I still do a lot of work for people that I've worked before, that I've done work before. But any new business is word of mouth. So I've kind of migrated to restoring bikes now, and that's what I keep busiest with. Almost all of them are Honda horizontals, Z50s, 70s, CT70s, CT90s, 110s. Plus there's a lot of other bikes that are horizontals, that S90 and CL90 and the SLs, like the SL70s. And I've done a couple of XR75s even, but mostly horizontal, small horizontal. I'm going to pull the side cover off. I've got a friend that, someone that I worked on their bike before, his girlfriend bought one of these bikes. It's got a fault neutral problem. Between gears, when you shift, it goes into, it's almost like it's going into neutral. You hit it again and it shifts. And that is usually caused because either the shift drum stopper is broke, or the screws backed out of the plate that goes on the shift drum. So I'm going to pull the side cover off and replace that today.
Helmet, like underneath.
I've had a fly in my jacket. Oh my God. I'm driving about 35 and all of a sudden, you know, you feel a bit. And all of a sudden I can feel one.